The day everything cracked death, cameras flashed nonstop. Ana de Armas smiled like always, perfect and polished. The red carpet stretched ahead of her like a sea of glittering judgment. She wore the dress the studio picked, said the right lines. Her publicist approved, laughed on cue, but inside, she felt nothing. No sparkle, no warmth, no excitement, just numbness. A cold weight inside her chest. Not fear, not sadness, something worse. Emptiness. Because this wasn't the dream anymore. It was a machine. And she was just one gear grinding forward. She had been up since 4 a.m. Another interview, another flight, another moment where someone asked her about beauty instead of her soul. And this premiere, it was supposed to be her moment. But all she felt was a tightness behind her eyes and a scream in her throat. She couldn't let out. She smiled through it, waved. A reporter yelled something about her dating life. She pretended not to hear. Another asked about her last co-star, who took all the credit in the press. She gave the same answer, polite, controlled. But the storm inside kept growing, and then it happened. Something personal, something that only someone close to her could have leaked. Ana froze. She blinked, tried to keep smiling. The cameras trembled. The cameras were still flashing. The crowd didn't notice, but Keanu Reeves did. He was a few steps behind, arriving late to the premiere. Noticed her from the car, noticed her stiffness, the way she stood like glass about to crack. And when he saw her freeze, he knew. He didn't run. Didn't shout, he just walked. Calm. Steady. Ana had turned her face slightly to hide her tears. Her eyes were shining, not from joy. From pain she couldn't mask anymore, and suddenly someone was beside her. A warm hand reached out, gentle. Open, not grabbing, not saving. Just there. She looked down and saw Keanu's hand waiting, not forcing, not pretending, just waiting. Something in her broke then, not in a bad way. Like a wall collapsing to let the light in. Her fingers touched his, and he closed his hand. Around hers, firm, steady, human. No cameras caught that moment. They were too focused on her dress, but to her, was the first real thing all day. He leaned in slightly and whispered something only she could hear. Breathe. You're not alone, she wanted to cry. To hug him, to fall apart. But all she did was nod. They walked together the rest of the carpet, her hand in his. The tightness in her chest didn't vanish, but it softened. Like she could finally exhale after the premiere. When everyone was busy celebrating, Ana didn't go to the after-party. Neither did Keanu. They sat on the roof of the hotel, far from the lights. He didn't ask her what was wrong. She didn't have to explain. He just sat beside her in silence. The kind of silence that didn't ask for anything. That made room for someone's heart to speak. And after a while, she did. I don't know who I am anymore, she whispered. Keanu looked out at the city. You're still in there, just buried. It happens to all of us. On a bitter lip. Thought I was strong. You are, he said. But even strong people fall. She looked at him, eyes filled with a question. And what happens when we fall? He smiled, soft, patient. We reach out, and someone catches us. She turned her face away, blinking fast. I'm tired of pretending. Then stop, he said. Just be you. If you don't know who that is yet. The wind blew gently. Her dress rustled like paper. And for the first time in months, she let her shoulders drop. She didn't need to hold it together in front of him. He wasn't judging, wasn't fixing just there. And in that simple presence, Ana felt something return. Not joy. Not yet, but hope. It started that night, not with a headline, not with a movie, role, not with applause, but with a hand held gently and a voice that said, You're not alone. The night she finally spoke, Heath's hotel room was too quiet. Ana sat at the edge of the bed, barefoot, staring at the carpet. Her phone buzzed every few seconds. Texts from publicists, emails about ratings, invites to photo shoots, messages from people who only remembered her when she was trending. She didn't answer. She COULDN single quotes. Her mind was stuck on the rooftop. On Keanu's voice, soft and steady, saying things no one else ever said to her without expecting something in return. She picked up her phone, opened his contact, and stared. Then she typed, "Thank you for tonight. I didn't know I needed someone. Not until you showed up." She didn't expect a reply, but 3 dots appeared. Then came the message. "We all need someone. Anna, I'll be around." She stared at the words for a long time, around, not just tonight. Not just for a moment. It felt strange to believe it, but part of her wanted to. The next morning, her manager knocked on her door before sunrise. He looked excited, said the press was calling her the Queen of Grace, that the photos from the premiere were perfect, flawless, radiant. "You held yourself so well," he said. "You're becoming untouchable." Anna smiled weakly and nodded, untouchable. If only he knew how close she was to breaking in front of everyone later that day. There was a lunch meeting with producers. They laughed loud and talked fast. Complimented her smile, her look, her brand, but not her thoughts. Not her soul. She sat there, nodding politely. But her mind drifted to the rooftop, to the silence that didn't ask for anything too. The kindness that came without cost. A quiet voice inside her whispered, "You don't belong here, not in this fake." Laughter, not in this game, but she stayed, 'cause walking away felt like losing everything she had worked for. That night, as the sky turned dark, she received another message. Roof again. No name, just the words. But she knew who it was. She went. The wind was stronger tonight. The stars clearer. Keanu was already there, sitting on the same spot, a thermos in his hand. "Tea," he said, holding it out. "Figured we both needed something warm." She smiled. A real one, small but true. They sat in silence again. Then she spoke. "I used to love acting." He looked at her, but didn't interrupt. Not for the fame. Not for the clothes. Just becoming someone else. Telling stories that mattered. Feeling something real. Her voice trembled. "But now I feel like I'm disappearing. Every smile feels like a mask. Every photo like a lie." Keanu nodded. "Slowly, I know that feeling." She turned toward him. "You do?" He looked out at the city lights. "After the Matrix, I got lost. Everyone saw Neo. No one saw me. I didn't know if I was acting or just surviving." Anna was quiet. Then she whispered, "What did you do?" Keanu looked at her gently. "I stopped trying to impress. Started trying to be honest. Even if it scared people," she breathed out. "But how do you do that when the world only wants the perfect version of you?" He shrugged. "You show them the truth anyway. Some will walk away. But the ones who stay, they'll see the real you, and that's enough." Anna was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I'm scared." He didn't flinch. Didn't dismiss it. "Me too," he said softly. "Most days." And that honesty, that shared fear, made something shift inside her for the first time. She didn't feel weak for feeling broken. She felt human. The wind picked up Anna, pulled her legs close, and rested her chin on her knees. "Do you ever wish you could just disappear?" she asked Keanu. Sipped his tea. "Sometimes, but then I remember. There's beauty in being seen. Really seen. Not by everyone. Just by the right people." She looked at him. He met her gaze, and she knew in that moment that he saw her, not the star, not the image, just her, the broken parts, the tired heart, the quiet soul beneath all the lights. "Thank you," she whispered again. He smiled. "You don't have to thank me. You showed up. That takes courage." She leaned back, looking up at the sky. "Do you think I could make something real? Something outside all this?" He didn't ask what this meant. He understood. "Yes," he said. "But only if we're honest with each other." "Ourselves?" She nodded, and in that rooftop silence, something began to heal. Not quickly, not fully, but enough. Just enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't falling apart anymore. Maybe she was falling into something real. The morning they disappeared, Anna woke before sunrise. For the first time in weeks, she felt rested. Not because she had more sleep, but because something inside her was lighter. Still fragile, but not shattering. She sat by the window, watching. The early morning sky, the streets below were quiet, still asleep. Just like the version of herself she had almost forgotten, soft, curious, and real. A knock came at the door, not loud. Not urgent. She opened it. Keanu stood there, holding 2 coffee cups and a brown paper bag. "I brought freedom," he said with a small smile. "What's in the bag?" Her voice still sleepy. "Croissants and escape." "Escape?" He nodded. "A car's waiting downstairs. No press. No makeup. Just the road." Anna stared at him. Part of her hesitated. But the other part, the quiet one, the truer one, stood up. 10 minutes later, they were in the back of a rented car. No driver asking questions, no schedule, no fans. Just the hum of wheels and the scent of buttered pastry. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere no one knows us," he said. "Just for a day." Anna looked out the window. The city slowly disappeared behind them. Billboards turned to trees. The noise turned to birdsong. An hour passed, then 2. They arrived at a quiet coastal town, tiny shops, crooked sidewalks, old boats resting near the shore. No cameras, no screaming, just waves and wind. They walked side by side. No script, no spotlight, just the sound of shoes on wooden boards and the soft, growing rhythm of trust. "This place feels like it doesn't care who we are," Anna whispered. "It doesn't," Keanu said. "And that's the best part." They stopped at a small cafe. The waitress didn't recognize them. She called them sweetheart and darling and told them to try the apple pie. They did, and they laughed. Not the kind of laugh meant for show. It's the kind that escaped before it could be hidden. After the meal, they walked to the edge of the dock. Anna looked out at the water, wind in her hair. "I forgot how quiet the world could be," she said. Keanu stood beside her. "The noise isn't real. It's just made to distract us from the parts that matter." She turned to him. "What parts matter?" "This," he said. "Being, feeling, remembering who we are before the world told us who to be." Anna looked down at the water. Her reflection wavered. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she admitted. "Sometimes I think the version people love isn't me, just a mask I wear so they'll keep clapping." Keanu was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Do you want to take off the mask?" She nodded. "Then take it off."
Here?
Anna stared at him. He wasn't joking, wasn't teasing. He was inviting her to be real. She took a deep breath, and then she told him everything. The auditions where she was, told to change her accent, the scripts where she was told to be sexy, but silent. The days when she'd cry in dressing rooms, only to walk out smiling again. The men who praised her on camera, but belittled her off it. The dreams she had, real stories, emotional ones, but no one wanted to hear them. And finally, the fear that maybe she had lost herself trying to be what the world wanted. She spoke for a long time. Keanu never interrupted, never looked away. He just listened. And when she was done, she felt lighter, exposed, but not ashamed. He reached out, not to hug her, just to hold her hand again. Warm, steady. "Thank you for telling me," he said. "Do you think people will still care if they see the real me?" she asked. "The right ones will," he said. They stayed there until the sun started to set. Orange light danced on the water. Anna leaned her head on his shoulder. "Can we stay here forever?" She whispered. "No," he said softly. "But we can carry this feeling with us, wherever we go." He drove back under the stars. No, I knew where they had been. But Anna knew something had changed. Not out there and here, inside her. A door had opened, and a voice inside her had spoken for the first time in years. "You are allowed to be real. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel. And you don't have to do it alone." The cracks in the spotlight. Next morning, the world noticed photos from a small coastal cafe somehow made it online. Blurry, distant but clear enough. Keanu and Anna spotted outside Hollywood. No makeup, no handlers, just normal. The headlines swirled. Some said it was a publicity stunt. Others asked if they were a couple, but none of them asked the real question: why would two famous actors run away from their own fame? Anna sat on her hotel bed, the news on silent. Images of her and Keanu filled the screen. They called her glowing, called him mysterious. But all she saw were two people trying to breathe. Her phone rang nonstop. Her manager wanted a statement. Her agent wanted her back in front of cameras. Her team wanted to spin the story. She didn't. Answered, "Not yet." Keanu knocked on her door. This time there was no croissant, no escape plan, just him. His eyes were calm, but the concern was there. He could see what the noise was doing to her already. "They found us," she said quietly. "They always do," he replied. "But that doesn't mean they get to own us." Shh. She looked away. "They don't care about the truth," she whispered. "They only care about the version they can sell." Keanu nodded. "So tell your version before someone else does." Anna sat with that thought. She had always been told to let the press speak for her now. Maybe it was time to speak for herself. She opened her laptop and she wrote raw, honest, real. She wrote about exhaustion, about loneliness, about being looked at but not seen. She wrote about the pressure to be perfect, to always smile, to hide pain behind makeup and red carpets, but most of all, she wrote about finding peace in a quiet moment, with someone who reminded her how to just be. Keanu read it before she posted it. He didn't change a word. "It's beautiful." Said, "It's terrifying," she whispered. "That's how you know it's true." She posted it that afternoon. The world reacted instantly. Some praised her courage. Others questioned her sincerity. But something unexpected happened. Messages poured in from young girls who felt the same pressure, from actors who had been broken by the industry, from strangers who just wanted to say thank you. It wasn't all praise. There were critics, as always. But Anna didn't flinch, not this time. Because for the first time in years, she was standing in the light as herself. That night, she and Keanu sat in the quiet corner of a bookstore. Far from cameras, she read some of the messages aloud, voice soft with wonder. "Listen to this," she said, holding up her phone. "This girl wrote, I've always felt like I had to pretend to be someone else. But after reading your letter, maybe I don't have to anymore." Keanu smiled. "You see, honesty has power." She looked at him. "I thought being vulnerable would make me weaker. It makes you real. And real is stronger than perfect." They didn't talk about the headlines anymore. They talked about books, dreams, places they wanted to see. They shared childhood memories. Anna told him about a small island in Cuba, where her grandmother taught her how to make coffee in a tin pot. Keanu told her about riding his bike across town just to sit under a single tree and feel the wind. They laughed. Not the kind of laugh meant for interviews, but the kind that stitched hearts back together. Later that night, as they walked out into the cold air, Anna paused under a strecklachel. "Do you think this will last?" she asked. "The peace." Keanu stepped beside her. "Peace doesn't come from silence out there," he said. "It comes from knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone else rewrite that." Anna nodded slowly, and in that moment, she realized something important. The spotlight was never the enemy. The real danger was forgetting who she was before she ever stepped into it. And now, she was remembering. With every word she wrote, with every moment of truth, with every step beside the man who never asked her to perform. When silence became strength, studio was not happy. Anna's letter had gone viral. It's not just on social media, on talk shows, in newsrooms across continents. People were quoting her, sharing her words like they had been waiting for anyone to say them first. But not everyone saw it as brave. Her publicist called it a career risk. Her agent warned it might damage her brand. Studio executive said, "We admire her honesty, but let's not forget we have a contract." Anna sat at a long table in a cold boardroom, wearing no makeup and a plain black sweater. No stylist, no manager, just her. She looked them all in the eye and said quietly, I'm not a product. They blinked, shifted in their seats. I'm a person, she added, and I'm done hiding that.
Dad.
The room went quiet, and then slowly, gently, they let her go. Not from the contract, but from the performance. They couldn't stop her. From being her, not anymore. When she walked out of the meeting, the hallway was quiet. Her chest was tight, but not from fear. This time, it was power. She texted Keanu. They tried to make me quiet down. I didn't. His reply came in seconds. Then you've already won. The next few days felt like the world held its breath. Everywhere she went, someone recognized her not for a movie, not for a role, but for her words. A woman in a bookstore whispered, "Thank you." A barista slipped a note into her drink sleeve that read, "You made me feel less alone." A teenager cried when she said hello, but it wasn't fame anymore. It was connection real. It's warm human. That weekend, she and Keanu returned to the coastal town. This time, they didn't run. They arrived slowly, like people returning home. The same waitress remembered them. "You two again?" She smiled. "You looked different last time," Anna smiled back. "Feel different." They sat at the same table, ordered the same pie. The sea outside was louder than before, the waves crashing against the dock with strength and rhythm. "I think I finally understand something," Anna said, holding her coffee close. "What's that?" Keanu asked. "The world doesn't need me to be perfect. It needs me to be honest, and that includes all of it. The cracks, the fear, the mess." Keanu nodded. "People don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with truth." Anna leaned back in her chair, staring out the window. "Do you ever wish you had said these things earlier in your career?" She asked. Keanu thought for a moment. "Maybe, but I wasn't ready then. People can only hear the truth when they're ready to." She looked at him, eyes soft. "Thank you for being there when I was ready." He smiled. "I wasn't saving you," he said. "You were already strong. I just reminded you where that strength lived." That evening, they walked to the edge of the dock again. The wind was colder, the sky turning orange and purple. Anna took off her shoes and stood, barefoot on the wood. The waves splashed just below. Keanu stood a few steps behind, watching her with quiet respect. "This is where I want to begin again," she said. "You already have," he replied. She turned around. "What about you? What's next?" He looked out at the sea. "I think I want to do something that matters. Something small, but real." She nodded. "Double quotes, maybe we can do it together." The wind lifted her hair. She smiled. "Maybe we already are."
Dad.
The next morning, they made a decision. They turned down the noise. Anna stepped away from a film she no longer believed in. She didn't run from the headlines this time. She posted a second letter. Not about pain, but about peace. About finding herself again. And about the man who walked beside her quietly while she did. She never said his name, but the world knew. And they didn't romanticize it. They respected it. They saw something rare: friendship, honesty, finesse in a world that often forgot those things. Anna was no longer acting out someone else's script. And for the first time, her silence wasn't emptiness. It was power. It was truth. It was her voice, even when no words were spoken. The world she chose me is past. The sun still rose each day over Hollywood. Red carpets were still rolled out. Cameras still clicked. Stories still swirled. But Ana de Armas? She was no longer in the center of it. Not because she had faded, but because she had stepped out on her own terms. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She had simply chosen a quieter road. The world somehow kept following. Not chasing her fame, but drawn to her truth. One morning, a young actress stopped her outside a bookstore. She was trembling, holding a folded letter. "You don't know me," the girl said, eyes wide. "But last year, I was going to quit. I thought maybe I wasn't strong enough for this world." Anna took the letter with both hands. "Then I read your words. No. I watched how you didn't fight with noise, but with honesty." Tears formed in her eyes. "You made me believe that being myself could be enough." Anna hugged her, tight, quiet, strong. When the girl walked away, Anna sat on a bench nearby and cried. Not from sadness, but from something deeper, purpose. This was the life she never knew she needed, the one she had been building, quietly, brick by honest brick. She had started writing, not scripts, not roles, essays, journals, short stories, sometimes about the industry, sometimes about her dreams, sometimes about the quiet beauty of a morning without anyone asking her to smile. Keanu read every one. He encouraged her to publish them. She hesitated, but he said gently, "What you gave to the world once gave people the courage to look inward. Imagine what could happen if you kept going." She listened. A year later, her book released, The Quiet Between the Cameras. It wasn't flashy, no big tour, no celebrity endorsements, just her voice, gentle, real, powerful, and it changed lives. Not with fame, but with truth. Keanu stayed beside, heard not in headlines, not in gossip, but in moments, early walks on foggy mornings, long talks about life and loss and healing, silent dinners where no words were needed. They never called it anything. Not romance, not friendship, not partnership. They didn't need to. They knew. He had found in her a mirror of himself, someone who understood that the brightest light wasn't always in front of cameras. Sometimes it lived in the soft spaces where real souls breathed. One afternoon, they returned to the small coastal town. Same dock, same salty breeze. The waitress saw them from across the road and waved. They waved back. Anna stood barefoot, again, at the edge of the wood. The sea was calmer today. She turned to Keanu. "If I told you I was happy," she said, "not because of anything big, but just because I feel whole, would that make sense?" Keanu smiled. "It's the only kind of happy that ever lasts." She nodded, and then, without needing to ask, he reached for her hand. They stood there hand in hand, looking out over the sea. No cameras, no crowd, just two souls who had stepped away from the noise. It's not because they had to, but because they had learned that peace was something you choose. Every day, every breath. Every time you hold someone's hand and decide not to let go. Anna never chased the spotlight again, but it found her. Gently, from time to time. Not because she was perfect, but because she had become real in a world that had forgotten what that looked like. And Keanu, he stayed beside her, not as a hero, not as a savior, but as a man who saw her falling and didn't try to catch her. He simply held her hand, till she remembered how to stand. And in the quiet moments between all the noise, that was enough. More than enough.